Hello and welcome to what I can only describe as a very, very special, we'll throw the extra very in there, edition of the In the Money Players podcast. Because not only is this our Santa Anita Opening Day special, but it is also, and I can't even believe it as I'm saying these words out loud, the 5th anniversary of In the Money Media as a separate entity. Sure, we were around longer than that with the old place with the letters. We went around whatever it was, 3 or 4 years before that, but it was 5 years ago on Christmas Eve, without any idea what the future would hold, that one of the co-hosts on the show today and I spitballed our way through that year's opening day Santa Anita. I think we had some winners, as memory serves, and we've been on the run ever since. And just want to start the show with the thank you I usually do at the end to all the listeners, to all the viewers, to all the clients, to all the partners, to everybody who's supported us. Never thought we'd be where we are. Let's introduce this panel. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatow, the man I was referring to, turning up from upstate New York in a lovely Santa Anita JK +1 collection shirt. Maybe I'll find one of those under my tree if I'm lucky. We bring him in now. He's Jonathan Kinchin. JK, you ever think when we started this 5 years ago that In the Money Media would become what it became?
No, look, I mean, I just thought that it would, would be a way for us to continue to kind of chit chat about races when the place with the letters decided that they didn't want to continue on with the podcast. And so like, oh, we'll see what happens. And it turns out that it was a blessing in disguise, and it's been a ton of fun. So I agree, and I co-sign all of your sentiments.
Well, the thing about that company, we're friends with them again, but speaking to the leadership back then, the last thing they would have needed was a few extra million in revenue. So, it's not like they lost out on anything. Anyway, let's get to the guests on today's show. Very, very happy to welcome back, as we did last year for the opening day show. And we've had him on so many times and done so many co-productions with this man. He is the denizen of the suites at Santa Anita and so much more from the Santa Anita marketing department. He's Chappy, Jeff Chapman. Chappy, what up?
What's happening, guys? Yeah, I thought this was a Christmas show, but it's actually an anniversary show. So happy anniversary to both of you, and welcome to everybody. I'm so proud today. I was telling you guys before the show, I get to wear my crazy cat shirt today, and I get a few looks, but not like normal. And I also have some flowing hair going today. So a couple things going for me. I'm feeling good about myself for the next hour.
Looking good, Chappy. Very much so. Very much looking excellent in the cat sweater. But you're not to be outdone, because we have another guest who we're so excited to have back with us, because he's responsible for one of my favorite moments on a previous Christmas episode of the podcast, and hopefully we'll get him to do a little storytelling later in the show. He's responsible for the greatest story of degeneracy ever told, but we're going to put a pin in that, because he's also known as a very sharp handicapper, and extremely excited to hear what he thinks about this pick six on Santa Anita opening day. I refer to Skip Pairing. Skip, what's going on?
What's going on, Pete? JK, Chappy, you look awful festive. I love the dreadlocks there, buddy. You guys are doing a great job with this show. Thank you for having me on. Merry Christmas to you all. And I can't wait to go over the card on Santa Anita. I'm looking forward to this.
Now, it looks, Skip, I've known you a decent amount of time. I am guessing that all that fantastic festooning and Christmas decorating behind you, that doesn't, I'm guessing that's not you. I'm guessing there was an elf involved putting that together.
Yeah, I'm not the best decorator. I do outside. I get the lights outside. My wife, Janie, she gets the stuff inside. She does a great job. And I wanted to get in the festivities, and I'm known as Skippy Claus. So I thought I'd get a little dressed up for the occasion.
Skippy Santa Claus, indeed. We'll get more to that story. Stay tuned at the end. When the capping is over, you're going to want to hear that one. Okay, let's talk about Santa Anita opening day. The undercard's interesting, too. There's a couple of stakes races before the races we're even going to be talking about today. Make sure you get locked in for this whole thing. It starts at 2 o'clock on, and that's going to be 2 o'clock Eastern time. So 11 o'clock local, early post. Make sure you get out there And we're going to start off talking about a race that goes at 4:30 Eastern time that kicks off our pick six. That's the grade 2 San Antonio. Skippy Santa Claus, let's start with you. How do you want to light this candle?
You know, I like 2 horses in this race. I really like the way that Salesman won its last race. This horse has been wanting to go on the dirt, or at least I've been waiting for it to go on the dirt. And they finally got a good, a nice race over at Santa Anita. I know it was going a mile 5/8, but I think this is definitely a dirt horse, and it always works really, really good in the morning. But the last couple works and going into its last race, it worked better than usual. And the work on the 16th of December, I didn't put good work. I put great work. I love the way that this worked. If you guys get a chance, go and look at it on XBTV. It's a really, really good work. So I think that horse will be very tough. I like Money Mike Smith getting aboard. The other horse I was going to use is the horse that Pratt's on for Sadler, Subsanador. This horse has been working lights out in the morning too. The December 4th, 111-4. The 125, and the one that I liked the most was the last one, 113-1. This horse sat behind a horse and just blew by it with its ears up. I think this is going to be a very, very nice for John Sadler. So look out for those 2. Those are the only 2 I'm going to be using.
2 and 5. It's competitive looking market with 5 of the 6 in the betting, but Skip looking to get through with just 2, 2-5 to the hoop for him. Chappy, how about you? How do you see this one?
I'm kind of the same stance as Skippy here. There's a lot of speed in this race. It's a kind of amazing brickyard rides going a mile and a 16th in here. I think how the race sets up is going to be interesting. That I did like the work was very impressive of Subsanador the last time, and he sat relaxed behind the workmate and then just absolutely blew by. So I think he's going to get a good stalking trip. When along the salesman's line with Skip, if you go back ever since that horse arrived, one of the best workhorses you had ever seen. And we had talked about that many a time. I actually singled that horse on November 4th. It'll be interesting to see because that horse likes to go. So I'm leaning towards Subsanador just because of a stalking trip horse. Obviously, the horse likes to win races 7 of 9, and there looks to be a ton of pace in this race.
5 and 2, 2 and 5 from the 2 guests so far. Yeah, Salesman, it's fascinating. It's not a pedigree I necessarily would have thought. Dirt being out of the French Dam and being by Dubawi, but as we've seen, very good figures in these 2 dirt starts. JK, are you with the crew? Is Salesman one of the key horses to kick things off in the San Antonio in this pick 6?
Yeah, look, the tricky part about it is, I'm just going to be honest, I probably wouldn't play this pick 6. I don't have a strong opinion here. I need to use like 4 horses. I would probably come back and play the pick 5. Obviously, a great wager in its own right. Look, I need to have Stiletto. I need Salesman, although I don't trust Salesman, right? The horse went a mile and 5/8 last time, and now we're talking about a horse that's going to be bet significantly in a race going a mile and a 16th. Those are 2 different things, obviously. Brickyard Ride. He's a little sneaky. He can get loose in these races because he runs so fast early, kind of, put horses away. And then when it comes to a horse like Subsanador, you don't really know exactly who he is. He's one of those horses that, I'd love to look at the workout report to learn a little bit more about as well. I know the guys have said, but just to kind of dig a little deeper, my point is I don't have a strong opinion here. I would probably need to use 4 to feel like I was safe. 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Will you ever take a shot in a situation like that, JK, where it's an open-looking race and maybe you have strong enough opinions later on that you just do sort of a smaller pick 6, almost, just taking a shot in a race like this? And then if you, especially treat that if you are alive as like basically a press in the pick 5 you were going to play anyway, or is your inclination more to just leave it?
No, you could do that. I mean, yeah, you'd have to pick one of the horses in here and single. Maybe for me, the one I think probably offers the most value would be like Brickyard Ride. Like people are going to, look, you're going to get a thrill at least when they turn for home. He's likely to be in front. And then just kind of see what happens from there. And yeah, to your point, if you miss that very cheap early pick 6 ticket, then you're obviously in position to come back with the pick 5. If you hit that early pick 6 ticket, you can still come back with that early pick 5. But you don't have to press that all A line as much because you already have it alive in the pick 6. So, yeah, there's some ways around it.
Let's move on. Oh, you go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just gonna say, he's such a neat horse. My worry is I just don't think Brickyard Ride is Brickyard Ride anymore, and tailed off significantly. Maybe this little time off and with the blinkers off, but I think they're kind of grasping at straws at this point. He just doesn't seem like he's the same horse anymore.
a pace factor at least, and those who believe will get a little bit of extra juice in the odds, certainly compared to what they would have from an on-form Brickyard ride trying to stretch out. We'll see what happens on Tuesday afternoon as we continue with race number 7. We get to go down the hill now, 6.5 for these allowance types. JK, let's keep it with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty straightforward here. I think Beef Winslow is very interesting. One of my favorite angles is cutbacks going down the hill. That's Beef Winslow. I think Hawker, another one, doesn't have as much early speed, but is cutting back. I'll use those two as A horses, and then I'll use Booksmart as a B. I'm not a big believer in the 5 furlong speed horses stretching out. I think their weapon gets a little bit dulled down the hill, but man, this horse ran really fast last time. I can't allow him to beat me. I'll use as a B horse. So I'll go 4, 5 as A's and the 7 as a B.
Chappy, let's bring you back in. How do you see this one?
So if I would do normally I'll do two smaller tickets and I'll have a single. And to me, this is a race where I think the price could win. One of the tickets I would single Hawker. I've always thought this horse had a ton of talent. The trip 2 back was absolutely brutal off the layoff. Then went long the last time and had a little trouble again. I like the fact that JJ jumps aboard here. I think this horse has a lot of talent. He's faced some good ones. And I think Hawker's at 8-1 is going to run a huge race. And then another ticket I would spread. I like Beef Winslow. You know, I would even use a horse like Catalina Eddie drawn outside, who's 2 for 2 on the turf, cutting back. And I know this horse hasn't ran since April. But the horse has done no wrong and at a big price. There's a few others I might use, like a Minister Shane, King Apollo. So Hawker as a single, and then Spreadsville in the backup ticket.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to name check the 4 and the 10 as ones on your backup line, Chappy. But I really like the case for Hawker that both you and JK are making. You can just see those excuses, and you can see those tricky setups the last 2. And now with that 5 furlong speed stretching out, going down the hill, maybe the pace is there to set up a late run from Hawker. Skip, how about you? Can you make the case for Hawker too, or is your eye drawn in another direction in this spot?
No, I definitely will be using Hawker. I'm going to mention a couple other ones that JK and Chappy didn't mention. I'm definitely going to put the 1 on my ticket, Living Life. I like JK said, I love when they cut back from a mile going down this 6.5 downhill turf. That horse had a wide trip, tough trip. I put on my notes, this horse should love the downhill. I don't like the inside draw. Usually coming down the hill, the inside draw is not good, but this horse doesn't have speed. I think Mike Smith will take hold. And he'll end up working out a good trip. The other one that I was going to mention that nobody else did would be the Dr. Soulfire for Michael McCarthy. That last race at Del Mar broke from the 12 hole out of 12. That was a brutal trip. Wide trip. Just kind of, Sias kind of chirped it once, turning for home, and it didn't have anything. It just lost too much ground. I love this horse cutting back to 6.5, 2 down the hill. I think that horse might work out a trip for a little bit of a price, but my top play would be obviously Beef Winslow. Mark Glatt claimed this horse 2 back, and he's won 2 races. I mean, this horse has looked really good. Last time it had a troubled trip. It got beat a nose. They put it up via disqualification. This horse is sharp right now. I love that Pratt jumps aboard. And another one, I want to tell you, Frankie Dettori, he rides every race great. He's a great jock. But I'm telling you, he really rides this downhill turf course really good. He's got a very good win percentage. So King Apollo will definitely be on my ticket also. So with all that being said, I'm Spreadsville in here. I'm definitely going 1. I'm definitely going Beef Winslow, Hawker, King Apollo, Booksmart with that cheap speed, but that horse will be in front. And I'm going to also use Dr. Soulfire. So I'm Spreadsville.
All over the map here. I wrote down 4, 1, 9, 5, 6, 7. Does that sound right, Skip?
That's right.
Trying to catch a price in race number 7 here in this Boxing Day, Santa Anita Opening Day, pick 6. Next up, we've got grade 1 action in the form of the Malibu. These 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs, field of 8 going postward. Skip, who's your idea of the winner of this traditional opening day feature?
You know, this is always one of my favorite races on opening day. I love the grade 1 Malibu. I remember going out with my dad when I was just a youngster, and we would love this race. With that being said, I'm going to use Giant Mischief. Obviously, the race goes through Baffert. He's got 3 in here, but I like Giant Mischief. I think this horse is going to get a good trip. That last race, it got beat by Traeger. Traeger's a nice horse for Mark Glatt. I think this horse could work out a trip. There looks like there's a lot of speed in here. I know Speedboat Beach will probably be in front with Pratt. Fort Bragg, I think this horse will love the 7 furlong distance. I think this is a one-turn horse, even it's by Tappet. I like its one-turn races the most. I love that Irad jumps aboard. Another one I'm going to use is obviously Hijazi. This horse was $3.5 million purchase. It finally looked like it put things together its last race. Took a break from April to November, and it won for fun, 5.5 lengths. I love the outside draw for this horse. It's got speed or it could sit off. And I'm thinking about maybe using Ray's Cane too. But my top play would be Hijazi, definitely Giant Mischief, Fort Bragg, Speedboat Beach will be in front, and maybe Ray's Cane. I think it's a tough race, but we'll see what happens.
Sounds like the 7 and the 1 would be your A's in here.
Right.
And then backing up, you mentioned Fort Bragg and Speedboat Beach. So the 2 and the 3. Did I get those numbers right? I'm going to send these notes around to our In the Money Plus subscribers so they get a little digest of them. That's why I'm being so persnickety with you here, Skip. But
no, you're absolutely right, and I'm sorry I don't have the numbers. So
don't worry, I'll that's my job. I'm straight hosting today for a number of reasons, and I can pick up the bit as far as that goes. Chappy, let's bring you back in. I do think Hijazi, interesting item. This horse had so much hype long ago, and now maybe at the end of this 3-year-old season, starting to live up to it. What do you think of Hijazi in this spot?
Okay, so first of all, my A's would be the Bafferts. My top A would be Hijazi, and it's very interesting. When Hijazi made his debut, I was in the paddock standing next to Hijazi. And I actually singled Classical Cat, which was D'Amato horse, to beat him that day. And I looked at Hijazi and I said, "They paid $3.5 million for this?" Because the horse looked like a little rat. And so I was very much against Hijazi moving forward. After that time off, when he came back, now granted, I don't know how much he beat the last time, but he looked so much bigger, stronger, filled out like a completely different horse. And I think he is going to be this year. So I like the outside draw. I think he can sit off. Obviously, Speedboat Beach is going. He would be my top play in here. I like Hijazi at 3-1.
7-3-2. And how funny, this is an anniversary show, JK, and how funny that Chappy goes with the Baffert 1, 2, 3 while literally wearing a silver wig.
Hilarious. Yeah, he didn't let us down. For me, it's pretty straightforward. I think Fort Bragg showed how good of a one-turn horse he was throughout the entire year. All I need is Fort Bragg and Speedboat Beach. I considered using Speedboat Beach as the only horse that could beat Elite Power. Why the hell wouldn't I single him and treat him that way here? I do need to use Fort Bragg, and those are the only 2 that I need. Hijazi will have to have to prove it to me.
What's the knock, JK? Just just not sold that
just the other 2 are better.
Represents a new level of ability. I mean, I take the boy's point about him looking like a new horse at a time when horses often grow up, and I also take their point about the great trip he's going to get out there into 6.
No, just the other 2 are better. I mean, I just think that Fort Bragg is better. I think that Speedboat Beach is better. I think they've been more accomplished throughout the year. So it's really pretty much that simple. And you can't use them all type of thing.
JK going with the old fastest horse, bet the fastest horses angle, which is one that is a great one that sometimes actually gets overlooked on these airwaves and elsewhere. Let's turn our attention.
JK, it's one thing I've loved Fort Bragg, and maybe I look way into work sometimes because I try to get some kind of an edge, right? Like for first time starters watching things. I've singled Fort Bragg so many times. So going into this race, I wanted to single Fort Bragg. And that last work, the bullet work, it says 59-1. Fort Bragg moved up on a couple of horses. I think it was a sheriff's horse, and then never got by in the lane. Now, maybe I'm looking way too into that. So that made me not single and use the other 2 Bafferts. for what it's worth. You might think I'm a complete lunatic for that, but
no, I mean you got to take you got to take the information you have, digest it, and make decisions. That's what this game's all about.
Chappy, to be fair, I do think you're a complete lunatic, but it has nothing to do with the Jazz.
Well, absolutely. Thank you.
Look at the man. All right, let's pivot to talk about graded stakes action on the turf, which comes to us in the form of race number 9, scheduled for 6 Eastern. Oh, international viewers, by the way, I will be on for the Santa Anita card on Sky Sports Racing. Tune in. We'll have some fun with that. And this is one of the highlights for me. Grade 2, Mathis Mile. We're going a mile on the turf. We've got a field of 7 going postward. JK, we're going to keep it with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll save more drawn out conversations for other spots. I don't have a strong opinion here either. I'm going to use. I mean, I guess if Chad Brown wasn't here, I would just single him because he seems to go out there and win all the grass races. But since he's not in here, I do need to spread a little bit. I'll use a 2 Panic Alarm. The 4 Allendaris feels like the most likely winner, but one that has that kind of jump up number last time. I don't necessarily trust. Got a nice pace to close into last time. Going to be a little bit over bet with Flavian and Phil D'Amato. And I'll also use the 6 and the 7. Other 2 horses that I felt like, given the right trips, they can win. And Pete and those who listen to the show, I'll spread in races that like this because I have other opinions. If my opinions weren't where they were elsewhere, then I would feel like I needed to kind of cut some corners here. But I think in the midst of this sequence, I don't need to cut any corners. I'll use those 4 horses.
And will you grade them? Or the way I'm hearing you, as I sometimes just sort of interpret, I sort of intuitively wrote down the 2 and the 4 as A's and the 6 and the 7 as B's for you, Jonathan. But is it more?
No. They're all A's to me. I guess if you were in a position where you had a way to bet the 4 a little bit more, I would recommend doing that. But if you're not, you just kind of got to roll with it. So I'm going to use all 4 of them equally.
4, 2, 6, 7 is how I'm going to write that one down for Jonathan in the Mathis Brothers Mile. Chappy will bring you back in to offer your opinion on this.
Same 4. I'm going to add the 1 in there. So I'm spreading in here. I'm 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. The one thing I think about the 4, maybe the horse to beat. Jonathan said exactly what I wrote down. If you go back and watch that race, they went fast early, got the perfect setup, and I think will be over bet because of that. Now, granted, some of that is Pratt. Pratt always seems to put him in the right spot. But that horse got an absolute perfect trip. They went fast, and he just he didn't have a giant turn of foot, just kind of went by him late. So it's a must use, but I'm spreading in here. That horse is going to be well over bet.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky to figure out exactly what the pace situation is going to be in here. So I hear both of you not wanting to get too committal. Chappy, in terms of the 5 numbers you mentioned, do you have a top pick among them? Would you grade them as A's or B's, or is it more just spread and survive?
My A's would be 4, 6, 7, and then my B's would be B's is 1, 2.
That works for me. JK mentioned about Chad Brown not having a runner. I saw something somewhere that there were flight issues with trying to get some horses from the East Coast out to the West for this a little bit. I mean, we ended up with some competitive racing, but disappointing if that's true. You hear anything about that, Chappy?
I heard a little, some FedEx problems and just the rumors floating around that they were expecting some horses that couldn't make it. That's honestly all I know. But yes, I did hear that.
It is what it is. We have the card drawn, and we are going to be betting on it with great enthusiasm. Skip, let's bring you in. We have 2 votes for a spread here. I'm looking for somebody with some courage of convictions. I want to hear, a confident opinion on this one. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm going to mention a horse that they didn't, and that's Watsonville. I like this horse. This is my top play. This horse was very sharp at Del Mar. Ended up breaking his maiden once they stretched this horse out. And Chappy and I on the radio show, we talked about it. I said, I can't wait for them to stretch this horse out. They did. It won, came right back and won again. I tell you, this horse, if you get a chance, go back and watch that Twilight Derby. This horse ran giant. This horse ran the best out of all those in there, I think. It stumbled coming out. It was broke from way outside. They went fast, and this horse hung around till the end. I like Watsonville an awful lot. I think it's going to get a great trip in here. There's not a whole lot of speed. I think this horse might be right off Calm Seas, and I think Watsonville's got a big shot. They raced it in the Hollywood Derby. Maybe it came back and it bounced a little bit after that big race in the Twilight Derby. And who did it get beat by? Yes, Chad Brown. Program trading. So Watsonville's going to be my top pick. I also like the replay, as they mentioned, on Panic Alarm. This horse in that same Twilight Derby never really got clear sailing. It was in between horses. It never really had a clear path to run in. So I'm definitely going to use Panic Alarm. And then that third horse is Almendares. This horse is sharp. I think it's going to be overbet. So I'm Watsonville, Panic Alarm, and Almendares.
I like the case on Watsonville. I see your point about the Twilight Run, with that tardy beginning, then moved into the fastest part of that race and then just, was a little bit out of gas late. But that was 1 1/8 anyway, and probably would have gone better with a smoother run through. And here, I wouldn't even be surprised with an enterprising ride by Fresu for him to go to the lead, unless Irad or Mario decide they want to get biggie with the 1 or the 3. So that's a case I'm buying, and one I'll probably be getting stuck into a little bit in race number 9, the Mathis Brothers Mile. More Grade 1 action up next. We've got the 3-year-old fillies in the La Brea, maybe the most competitive race of the day. I did a full write-up on this one over at theraces.com. We got a field of 10 going postward. Skip, who's your idea of the winner?
I'm going to single in here. I really like the way that Howell has won its first 2 races. The one at Keeneland, he was bet way down. I think he was 12-1 on the line that day. The word was out. I was up fishing in Mammoth, and I made a wager on it. And I'll never forget, I was at the lake watching TVG, and lo and behold, it won for fun. It was a good day. Not only was I catching fish and drinking beer, but I was making some money too. So it was all good.
That's
and then it came back at Laurel Park in the Safely Kept, which, breaking a maiden, come right back into a stakes. That's not the easiest thing to do. And this horse did it. And now it's come back to work twice, and it's worked very fast. I didn't get a chance to see the workouts, but 59-3, Pratt jumps aboard again. I think Howell is a single. I think this is going to be a nice horse for Brad Cox.
Lots of positives, and I love the fishing gambling story. That's a double I've never done, but you're making me think, Skip. We got to get you to Saratoga. Maybe we'll get the boat out on the lake next summer and do a little bit of the cell signal's not bad out there on the lake. We could easily watch and do a little bit of wagering if we can get you east. I mean, do you ever leave California though?
I do leave California,
he
but
doesn't even leave Arcadia. What are you talking about? It's a Kings game or Arcadia.
Well, I have a dog that I have to take everywhere with me because nobody will watch her. So where I go, she's got to go with me. So I'm not getting on any planes. I got to drive everywhere. Yes.
Well,
when we're doing our live show, he has Zenyatta cam and he's watching her live on his phone.
Yeah. I got a camera outside and I got a camera for her room. And yes, her name is Zenyatta. And
she the whole time.
She does.
I nearly named my daughter that, so we're of a feather in that regard as well. Chappy's enjoyed the what we call the degenerate flophouse hospitality in Saratoga before. We got to get you back east at some point when Santa Anita isn't running as well. But for right now, Chappy, let's get down to brass tacks. What's going to win the La Brea?
Well, it's a tough race. I mean, I'm going to use Skippy's Howell. I'm going to spread a little bit in here. I'll mention a couple horses in here. I think Ice Dancing is interesting for Richard Mandela. He's a pretty patient trainer. After that first race, he goes right in the Del Mar debutante. This horse ran very well off the bench the last time from the rail draw. Had a big work last on the 19th with a horse named Larona, who won her debut by like 7 lengths at 1-5. And I think this horse is at 6-1. Is worth a play in here. The other horse I like is Royal Spa, who's also drawn the rail the last couple times that she has won sprinting. And I like the move to Ortiz. And this horse has been out here for about a month working over the track, and I think is ready to run a big race. So I'm going to use a couple others as well, but those are a couple horses I wanted to mention.
365 for the name check. You have anything at a price to maybe mention as a backup in the notes, or is it really mostly going to be focused on those 3?
Probably those 3. Maybe Big Pond is a B.
Yeah, Big Pond is actually who I ended up picking in the race, but I was going to bring up if nobody else did. Let's get JK's thoughts, and then maybe we'll do a couple more questions on this race. JK, what do you think in this La Brea? Is it as simple as Howell?
No, I'm ice cold and clearly unhinged. I'll use Howell as a single B horse. Just not as fast as I'd like to see. Clearly Unhinged has shown consistency in being fast. I think Michael McCarthy does an outstanding job. I like the draw for Clearly Unhinged outside of Howl, and I'll be ice cold to Clearly Unhinged, and I'll use Howl as a B horse.
The interesting angle on Clearly Unhinged, I think, Jonathan, is here's a grade 1 race where so many are being tested for class, and we know that Clearly Unhinged has the class with, grade 1 placing, albeit, we don't need to get into the particulars of how that was earned, but still coming out of a race like the Filly and Mare Sprint. I thought those two were,
in fairness, she would have still been grade 1 placed regardless.
That's right.
Yeah.
She just would have been third, just a little bit farther back, not beaten ahead. But I thought Big Pond was interesting to maybe trip out. I wanted to use Big Pond with those big 2. I just thought Big Pond's really cool, consistent Calbred. I thought had an excuse last time. I love that form from the Fleet Treat, with Ceiling Crusher having come back to do what she did since, and feels like just one who's going to get an amazing trip under Frankie Dettori. Love that jockey booking. So I'm going to mostly be playing an exactas here with Howl and Clearly Unhinged and some Big Pond as well. Let's move on to the last race of this sequence. We've got 2-year-old maiden special weights, 12 of them, in fact. They're going a mile on the turf, these fillies. The good news is only a couple of first-time starters, lots of exposed form, so not too difficult to task, hopefully, for us dealing with these maidens on the grass and the last race. But, Jake, I'll ask you the key question when it comes to this Boxing Day Pick 6 at Santa Anita. How are we going to get paid?
I think we'll get paid if the 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, or 11 win. These races, I have no idea. You can make a case for all of them. I think that some of my skinnier opinions early, I've afforded myself the right to be able to spread in here. They all look the same. The ones that have run, Respect the Crown, Flight to Quality, Visually, Oratium, or whatever that is, they all look the same. So I'm gonna spread in here. I can lie to you until you have a strong opinion, but that wouldn't be much of the Christmas.
We don't need that. When you have, so let me see if I only had that. It's a little host test here. I wrote down 1, 2, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11. Did I get that right?
8, 9, 10, 11.
8, 9. I missed one. All right. Well, I'm going to call that. I'm not going to copy.
This is one of those situations where, just to be clear, if I lay out all my tickets in it and it's just too much of an investment that I want, I will toss Howl and I'll fly solo with Clearly Unhinged if I had to.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. What about when you're constructing tickets with this approach? Now, you obviously know Respect the Crown, for example, is going to be a lot lower price than a runner like the McCarthy First or Speed Chopper. Are you still okay having them for the same amount of base units in your ticket construction, or will you do anything?
No, but if you don't have a tool to file upload, then there's no way to solve that problem. A realistic way to solve the problem.
I mean, sometimes I'll just go ahead and I'll do sort of a weighted this isn't an all, but like the big spread for 50 cents, and I'll come back with 3 horses I like for another $1 or something.
But the other thing about it is too, though, for me in these situations where I've decided to use 8 horses or 7 horses, I clearly don't think the favorite has that much more of an edge over the other horses. So I don't feel the need to press them up. I think that's the kind of situation where, you're talking about the Kentucky Derby, where you love a horse you've been following all year. At your Derby horse, he's 10-1, but you also respect the 3-1 favorite and the 6-1 second choice. Then you want to kind of press those horses up so that you're not upside down in a big sequence on a big day or something like that. But I think in a situation like this, trying to get Respect the Crown to be a little bit more equitable is not really that necessary, especially considering that you like 7, 8 horses in the race. You probably don't like that horse that much anyways. And the equity and the value of the sequence probably is being protected by that horse, but hoping that the horse doesn't win. And then you pick up the value of the horses that are higher prices.
A great point. Chappy, how about you? Any more clarity in this nightcap?
I have less clarity than JK does. I couldn't wait
to get out all another way.
I couldn't wait to get to this race. I'm going to watch every replay, find trouble, find somebody who's working well. Nothing. I wrote on the top, nothing stands out. Even like a horse like Respect the Crown, that last race, you couldn't draw up a more perfect trip for that horse, and the horse still couldn't win the race. Nope. So I'm as many as I can use, I'm going to use in here because I just couldn't come up heads or tails with anything in this spot.
So nothing to name check for the notes. I'm basically just going to say no opinion, as many as you can.
My top pick, I guess, would be the 8 Flight to Quality, second time going long for D'Amato, but the horse didn't get bet first time out at all. Ran on okay, and I like Ortiz jumping up board, but this is just maybe 8, 9. But I'm gonna be 6, 7, 8 deep in here like JK.
All right, Skip. You before when they were similarly all over the place with picks, you had some real conviction. How about this time? How do you want to approach this last race at Santa Anita on opening day?
Well, I'm with the boys with this one. I can't make heads or tails of it. I don't like anybody. If I had to, one that they didn't mention, I will, is Gerwig. This horse is by Kenton's Joy. That last race just looked like a prep. It broke bad. Franco just had this horse lagged back. This horse wants 2 turns. So I think maybe to price Gerwig, make sure you put that horse on your ticket. Like Chappy said, Respect the Crown had the perfect trip last time and still couldn't get it done. I'm kind of against Respect the Crown in here because if it couldn't win that last race, I don't know if it will win, and it will be, it will be the favorite. McCarthy's got good numbers when they debut at a mile on the grass. He's got 3 of them in here. Don't leave his horses out. And speaking of Michael McCarthy, I think he's going to have a big Santa Anita meet. So pay attention to him and make sure you follow him. I think he's primed for a big meet. With the replay horses, Flight to Quality is the only one that I made notes for. Off slow pace, rank, should move up big time in here. I love the jock change. And then Sea Dancer. This horse I think will improve. First race in California, had some trouble. Dettori jumps aboard. I definitely like Sea Dancer. Probably be my top pick if I had to pick one on top.
I'm tempted to go with Gerwig because I like the case you made so much for her, but I'll call it 10-3 and then mention those others. Skip hoping that Gerwig, not just for Barbie fans here on opening day at Santa Anita. Boys, we've been through the card. I'll look quickly and see if there's any quick questions we can answer while Skip prepares for my favorite Christmas story. We did have a question about the weather. What are things looking like out there, Chappy?
Let me look it up. I when I looked the other day, it looks like it was going to be 66 and sunny. So 66, 67 degrees. The rain has gone by. We're going to be fast and firm. We're all good. I'm as you move to JK, I'll get a current update here.
I love it. You do that, Jonathan. We're just about done with you. You have no other official responsibilities, but I am curious about your Christmas holiday and your Boxing Day. Obviously, you'll be getting after this. You have any other final thoughts for the viewers and listeners when it comes to this 5th anniversary ITM show?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. I married into Italian, so I got the Feast of the Seven Fishes today. It's about to go down. Tomorrow will be pasta and all kinds of food. Not only did I marry into an Italian, I married into restaurant Italians. So like food is obviously the biggest thing. And then I think that every time I think about Santa Anita opening day and I see the numbers 12/26, it makes me think about one thing and one thing only, which is some of the amazing times I had going to Santa Anita with my father in the last maybe 10 years before he passed, and going and seeing my brother in LA and us going over to Santa Anita on opening day. And so every time I see it, it makes me think about my dad and us going out there. So it's always a fun day. It's a beautiful day, and you guys are primed to have some fun out there.
That's awesome. Big ups to Big Ralph. And yeah, I wish I had gotten to do that with you guys one time. One of these days we need to do because it's our anniversary, right? So one of these years we have to do our anniversary party in the Logan Suite on opening day. Well, I think we could convince our significant others to get up early on the 26th and head out to the sunshine for a few days. What do you think?
Yeah, well, they better have pasta, or I'm going to be drawn dead.
We can make our own. You've got other Italians in the mix. Chappy, what did you find out in terms of this forecast?
66 and sunny. And then, I always look forward to opening day, but I also think now every time 12/26 comes around, I'm like, okay, Skip and all our birthdays are in February. Every year goes faster and faster. I'm like, man, we're getting old. I have every year now, I have more things that hurt on me, and I always think I'm like 25, and now I'm starting to realize I'm getting close to double nickels, and good Lord, am I getting old? But I'm ready for opening day. Good weather.
Yeah, JK, the comparative youngster of the group. I think Skip and I know exactly what you're talking about there, Chappy. All right, Skip, I'm going to yield the floor to you, and I want to hear the greatest story of degeneracy ever told.
Oh, Skippy Claus. As you guys know, the dungeon is a special place out at Santa Anita. The best of the best hang out there. You got Toothless Ray, you got Cuban, what was his name? You got Grumpy Kevin, you got Stinky Charles. Anyways, Bandstand Hal, you got Cinched down there. Anyways, a few years back, I was down there, and it was late in the afternoon, actually early in the evening. And I ended up deciding, it was right around Christmas time. I said, I'm going to buy all these guys tickets at Cal Expo of all places. And I was so happy. I liked a couple horses, and then I went all in one race.
Christmas Eve?
This was before Christmas Eve. This was about a week out before Christmas.
Okay.
And so I bought everybody tickets. I bought like 12 people tickets. The tickets were very cheap, like $10, $12. And so we watched the first race there. Then I got a call from the wife, so I had to get home. Second race I watch is I'm bringing home food, win. Third race, we go all $100 horse wins. So I'm thinking, this has got a shot to hit. I'm so excited, not only for myself, I'm more excited for the guys that I bought the tickets for. And I had a single in the last race, and the single ends up winning. The pick 5 pays like $200 on a $10, $12 ticket. And I'm so happy thinking all these guys, oh God, I made their Christmas. They're going to have a great time. $200, that's a lot of money. And I get a phone call that one of them, Toothless Ray, canceled the ticket. He didn't like the ticket. He canceled it. Stinky Charles, he ends up canceling the ticket and bets a $6 ticket so he could have $5 extra. Grumpy Kevin, I see Kevin, he didn't even thank me for the ticket. I was so happy for them all. And they were all like, there was like 3 guys that were happy. The rest of them were mad or not happy. It's like, oh my God, I'll never do that again. It was crazy. Yeah.
There you have it.
Ray canceling the ticket. He canceled the ticket. And the guys, I'm telling you, like 5 guys, they didn't even thank me for it. They're like, oh, like they expected it.
Skippy Santa Claus. Their whole lives they've been waiting for Santa Claus, and there you were in the dungeon, legendary simulcast spot at Santa Anita, and so you're right. But I love that story, and I know this audience will love that story. So Skip, I really appreciate you sharing it. But more than that, appreciate all of your thoughts and work on this card. I think we've given the people some good ideas to get out there rocking and rolling. JK had to split. He had the course of Skunjil, I think it was, waiting for him up there in Saratoga. But you boys, thanks for bringing the festive, and I hope we get to do more of these mashups. Hey, for my listeners and viewers who love your act and want to get more of it, where can folks find more of you guys on the radio?
So we are am830.net, also the Angels Radio app. And we are on Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And also, we always do Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and that's TML AM 830, at TML AM 830 live every Saturday morning, Pacific time, 8 to 9.
Great stuff. And if you ever get hard up for a guest, boys, I owe you one. Would love to come on and do some capping with you, because it's always fun to get a chance to hang out and see what's up. Thanks to everybody. Really well attended seminar. We'll get this up in all the usual channels, but we actually had a terrific live audience today. Thanks to everybody. Apologies we couldn't get to everything in the comments. For Jonathan Kinchin, for Chappy, for Skippy Santa Claus, this show has been a production of In the Money Media, brought to you by our friends at Santa Anita. We should remind folks also that we should give them the schedule real quick, Chappy, because after when do you guys run after opening day? You take a day off and come right back, or what is your schedule next week?
We run on Tuesday, and then we come back. We run Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big 4-day weekend. We'll have coverage of that too here on the show. And again, you can check out the guys on 8:30 a.m. and, get lots more information. SantaAnita.com. Great handicapping stuff on there. Once again, this show's been a production of In the Money Media. For JK, for Skip, for Chappy, I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.